Welcome to another episode of Mike's Money Picks. Today on the podcast, week 7 of the 2025 college football season rolls on as we are in the glorious time of year where we've got football pretty much every single day of the week. Here on today's episode, we're going to talk about the Friday night slate, which actually has two really nationally significant games and a third one. So we've got a 3-game slate. So we're going to break down all 3 games, tell you what you can expect from each game, as well as who needs to be in or out of your DraftKings and FanDuel lineups for Friday night, as well as any information if you were looking to be betting player props or just taking sides or totals on these games. Like I said, it's a pretty solid Friday slate. Like, we're going to be pretty much at a point of the season now where there's going to be one marquee game every single Friday night, and it's probably going to be a 3 or 4 game slate every single Friday night. So these Friday night slates are going to be pretty good, y'all. Now, while you're here, make sure you do subscribe to the channel. That way you can be with us for the rest of our college football content all season long. I got these videos coming out for every single slate that I can possibly pump out for you guys. I'm not going to get to every slate. It's not really humanly possible, but I'm going to make my best effort to do so. And then, we also have a Thursday night live show. So if you're watching this before Thursday night, come check out the live show. If you're subscribed, you'll know when we go live. We usually go live around 9:30 Eastern time, talk about until about 10:30. If there's any questions, any strategies, players, whatever that you want to talk about, you can put it in the chat, and because we are here for you guys. All right, without further ado, let's go ahead and dive into these 3 games. All right, so game number 1 is the one that is nationally relevant. This is a game that has serious college football playoff ramifications, and it is South Florida heading to Denton to take on North Texas. Now, here's why this game has college football playoff ramifications. It's pretty much all but certain at this point that the group of 5 representative in the college football playoff is going to come from the American Conference. The American Conference seems to have 4 true contenders for this crown. Currently unbeaten, Memphis. Currently ranked and owning wins over Florida and Boise State, South Florida. And then also North Texas. And who was the 4th team? There was a 4th one I was going to talk about. Crap, who was it? Oh, Tulane, who currently owns wins over Duke and has looked quite good so far this season as well. So you've got 4 teams that are in the race for this crown, right? And they don't play each other a whole lot. Like, there's not a whole lot of matchups between them. So this is a big one, USF taking on North Texas. And not only is this a great game in terms of its national relevance, but it's a great game from DFS. USF is 1.5-point favorites with a game total of 66.5, meaning the implied total is about 34-33 in favor of the South Florida Bulls. So this is a really good DFS game, y'all. And it starts at South Florida with the quarterback position. It starts with Barryon Brown. So Barryon Brown is a true dual threat. He has a ton of upside. We saw all of that upside last week at Charlotte. So we talked about him last week for that game. And one of the things I remember saying in the Fantasy Corner Discord before the game was Byron Brown has the widest range of outcomes on this slate. He has guy you needed to fade in his range of outcomes, and he also has guy you had to have in his range of outcomes. And on that Friday night slate against Charlotte, Byron Brown ran for 162 yards and a touchdown, threw for 4 touchdowns as well. 46 DraftKings points was the guy you had to have. I think this is another really good spot for Byron Brown. North Texas is going to be a team that plays with a decent amount of tempo. They're implied to score 34 points, which is the 2nd highest on the slate. North Texas ranks 124th in rushing yards allowed. Now, you might be like, wait a minute, Mike, wouldn't we want to talk about the passing yards allowed for Byron Brown? Not exactly. Byron Brown is a runner as well as a thrower, and I actually think a lot of his upside comes from his rushing ability, and this team really is not all that great in terms of running back right now. So let's go ahead and talk about that. So at the running back position, Cartavius Norton is their starter. He got hurt against Charlotte. That was a revenge game for him. He transferred from Charlotte in the offseason. He left that game on a cart. I don't think he's going to play in this game. He's $4,900, not worth rostering. And so what ended up happening after he left that game was you saw a decent amount of carries shift over to Sam Franklin. He had 14 carries in that Charlotte game. Granted, that game got out of hand pretty quick, but Franklin could have a little bit of upside if he's going to be kind of in that RB1 role. And then you also have Alvon Isaac, was not great. 2 carries, 21 yards, lost a fumble. I definitely think that's not going to help him going forward. And then the other guy I will mention, Nakai Davenport, kind of came out of nowhere. 15 carries in that Charlotte game. I tend to think that he's more of a garbage time guy, though. I did not watch every minute of that game. It's kind of hard to watch your own team, in my case, Charlotte, get walloped. And so I think he's more of a garbage time guy, but if they're benching Isaac and Norton is out, that definitely does give him a pathway to getting some carries. And on a 3-game slate, he might be a guy that can make your player pool. But definitely Franklin is the guy that I'm most likely to play. But with all of the uncertainty at the running back position, given that Norton might be out, given that Isaac might be headed towards the bench, Byron Brown is certainly in play as the primary runner for this South Florida team. Now, at the wide receiver position, South Florida does keep it pretty condensed through the air which is good news for us. Their best receiver is Nimrod. He's a Tennessee transfer. Yes, his name is actually Nimrod. I kind of think that's hilarious. He is a guy that is going to see the most targets on this team in all likelihood. I think he's a really solid option in DFS. He also has a pretty high ADOT, and the South Florida offense really lives off of these explosive plays. That makes him really playable as a whole. Now, the guy that is third on the team in targets is the guy that's second on the team in DraftKings scoring. That's Keyshawn Singleton. He did not do much against Charlotte at all. Only had one catch for 5 yards. That was much more of a Nimrod game. But we saw the upside for Singleton back when he played Boise in week 1 when he put up 20 DraftKings points. He could absolutely do that again. I think with a lot of people opting to play Nimrod because Nimrod is going to look like the more optimal play, having come off of 3 straight games of 16 DraftKings points, I think that Singleton could be your leverage guy. Like if you're looking to stack Byron Brown, you're looking to get a little leverage because you think that everybody else is going to be stacking Byron Brown. Keyshawn Singleton could be a guy to do that with. Neptune is a guy that I actually played a lot in DFS last Friday night. He's the second target leader on this South Florida team. The only problem is that his average depth of target is like the length of a CVS receipt. He has 15 catches so far in the season, only 1 touchdown, only 95 yards, yet to crack 100 yards, which is crazy. But the volume is there. He's only $3,700, plays a ton of snaps. I can buy putting him in my pool again as kind of a sneaky play. And then you also have Mudia Rubin, who kind of came out of nowhere in the Charlotte game, caught a touchdown. He's kind of more of a package player, not an every down player, but he does have touchdown catching upside. Now, on the North Texas side, what's interesting is that they have not been their normal air raid selves so far this year. You look at these pass attempts for Drew Mestamaker, and they're not throwing at the same volume that they have year over year, right? But if you look beneath the box score, though, you can kind of see why. They've won a lot of these games in blowout fashion. And then there's also the Army game where Army controls the ball more than anybody else in the nation. And he only got 36 attempts in that game. And so if that was like a normal game, maybe he gets more attempts. I don't know. But their pass rate is not as high as it usually is. Maybe it's because of game flow. Maybe it's because of the opponents. But this will be a good opportunity for Mestamaker to get back to, a huge 40-plus attempt game, huge game through the air. Definitely has 300-yard upside. Does not carry any rushing upside. So I'm definitely going to be playing Mestamaker. I'm going to be playing a lot of game stacks of this game as well, where I have both Brown and Mestamaker. I really think this is a good upside spot for him in that regard. Now, the running back position, this is where it gets interesting for North Texas. So they do have Caleb Hawkins. He's one of the highest priced running backs on the slate. I'm not really the biggest fan, though. He actually does not lead this team in attempts. He's only carried the ball 42 times, but he's just been so good in the last 2 games. 4 touchdowns against Army, 37 DraftKings points. 3 total touchdowns against South Alabama, 44 DraftKings points. He's been so good. It's what causing his price to go up. I kind of think that this is more fool's gold than anything. I might be wrong. I might be wrong. I just feel like this is bad to chase. I'm probably going to stay off of it for the most part. McGill is actually the guy that has more carries on the season, and he's still been a factor in these last 2 games. In the last 2 games combined, Mackenzie McGill had 32 total carries, and Caleb Hawkins had 29 total carries. So, do the math. This is a 50-50 split. Hawkins has just been the guy who scored the touchdowns and broken off the explosive runs. And at its core, I think North Texas is a team that wants to throw the ball a little more. So I just think this is going bad for Hawkins. I don't want to chase it. I'm kind of off of it. Now, at the wide receiver position, this is a hard one to figure out for North Texas. Usually they have these receivers that just dominate the target share and end up just racking up DraftKings points like nobody's business, but they don't really have that this year. They do have one guy that does command a lot of the volume, and that is Miles Coleman. He does lead the team with 36 targets. The problem is he hasn't scored a touchdown so far this year, hasn't topped 74 yards in a game so far this year. Really, really low ADOT guy this year, which was not really his game last year, if my memory serves me correct. So I do think that with all the volume that he's seeing, I do think he is due for some touchdown regression. I think he's in a pretty good spot in this shootout environment against South Florida. Miles Coleman is going to be a guy that I'm going to be playing. Landon Sides is second on the team in targets with 22. Kind of like Coleman, he hasn't had a big upside game either. Has 2 games of 12 DraftKings points. The other 2 have been in single digits. I don't know. You're just looking for these North Texas receivers to have these big games, and it really hasn't, because the running game has been what has been so dominant for them, and they've been playing from ahead, so they've had lower passing volume. It's just kind of weird. Now, they do have 4 other pieces that are kind of involved in the offense. It's Dormer, who is down at 3K even. You've also got Simeon Evans, who's, I believe, a Sam Houston transfer, as well as Wyatt Young and Trey Williams III. I feel like that's kind of redundant. I feel like if your name's Trey, we kind of know you're the third. But anyway, those guys are also ancillary factors of the offense that they could absolutely make my player pool because I'm going to be playing a lot of lineups, but I'm definitely going to be focusing my attention on Miles Coleman in that regard. There's also Dalton Carnes, who started last year, but it's kind of yet to get going, which I feel kind of weird. I feel like he should definitely have a bigger role in this offense given what he did last year. So yeah, I don't mind playing the other guys, but I'm probably in my case beyond Miles Coleman more than anybody else. All right, 1 game down, 2 to go. Let's go ahead and take a quick breather. All right, before we continue, I do want to mention there are places where you can get more information from me. First off, you can follow me on Twitter at Mike's Money Picks. It's where I tweet out all updates for the show, and I'm more than happy to answer any questions if you reach out to me on the Twitter. I'm also in the Fantasy Corner Discord. I alluded to this earlier. But the Fantasy Corner Discord is a place where you can go and just talk DFS, not only college football, but all the sports with a bunch of really smart, really good people. Talk strategy, talk plays. There's people that are in tune with injury news. It's just a great place to go if you're looking to build a community and talk college football DFS with some other people. And then also just sweating it out and watching the games together is always a blast. Now, also, if you want to know who makes my actual college football DFS lineups, head over to the Patreon, patreon.com/Mike's Money Picks. That is where for every single college football DFS slate, I post my core plays as well as why they are my core plays. And so if you are interested in that, that is where you can get that because you're not only just getting the plays, but you're also getting a full write-up why with reasoning from somebody who knows what they're talking about for doing this stuff. All right, let's go ahead now and carry on with game number 2. It is going to be a battle in the Mountain West between Fresno and Colorado State. This is an ugly one because I don't believe in either of these offenses. Fresno is 6.5-point favorites. Game total 47.5 points, meaning the implied total is about 27-20 in favor of the Fresno State Bulldogs. I think this is a dream matchup for Fresno. They do not have a great passing offense. Their quarterback is E.J. Warner. Yes, he is the son of Kurt Warner. He does not have a whole lot of rushing upside to mention, and the team just loves to run the football. He has had over 30 pass attempts in a game, and they've trailed pretty significantly in 2 of these games. So I just don't think he's a great play. Like he doesn't have 300-yard upside. He doesn't have rushing upside. He's $7,200. I would just rather play a lot of the other guys on this slate. I do think it's a dream matchup for the Fresno State running backs. Colorado State ranks 127th in rushing yards allowed. They really do give up a lot via the ground. It is a 2-man committee between Donaldson and Luke for Fresno. Donaldson is the guy that we thought was going to be the starter at the start of the season. He's been pretty solid in terms of like a yards per carry basis. He did have the big game against Southern, was decent against Hawaii as well, even though he did only account for 1 yard. He was able to score a touchdown in that game. How did he end up with only 1 yard in that game? That's odd. Anyway, he's $6,400. If he does end up being the workhorse running back, which we saw down the stretch of the Mountain West season last year. I was thinking there for a second what conference they were in. We saw down the conference play last year that he really became the workhorse. If it happens again, he's got a ton of upside. Then they've also got Rayshawn Luke, who has been more effective than Donaldson this season. But I don't know, man. Like he's doing it on less volume, and he had the one huge against Southern. He has more usage in the passing game. I don't know. I think between the two of them, I would rather play Donaldson, but Luke is certainly in the player pool. But like I said, this is a great spot for the Fresno State running backs. If you get this position correct, you're going to be a step ahead of everybody else. At the wide receiver position for Fresno, I think this is a situation where you don't really have to target it. The good news is that they do have pretty much exclusively 3 guys that they throw to. They do throw to both the running backs quite a bit, but they have exclusively 3 receivers that they throw to. It is Freeman, it is Abbott, and it is Anderson. Now, Abbott currently does have a Q tag, so if he does not end up playing, well, some of his targets are going to have to go to somewhere else. Where they would go, I don't exactly know because they don't really throw to anybody else so far. But Josiah Freeman is their number 1 wide receiver. He did have finally scored his first touchdown of the season against Nevada, allowed him to put up 19 DraftKings points. You'd be relying on him scoring a touchdown in this one. And then Richie Anderson's the tight end. Just okay. Like doesn't see enough volume to really do a whole lot. Could get you a random touchdown though. So this team just doesn't throw the ball a whole lot. And they throw the ball enough to the running backs that I really don't think I need to get to the Fresno wide receivers. Speaking of players I don't feel the need to get to, Colorado State. We talked about them last week on one of I think it was the Friday night slate. Might have been the Saturday night slate. I don't remember. Anyway, this is an offense that I can't figure out. 2 years ago, they had Braden Fowler, Nicolosi. They go all air raid on everybody. They put up a lot of points. Jay Norvell keeps his job. Last year, they go all ground and pound on everybody. It's still Braden Fowler, Nicolosi at quarterback, and they score a decent amount of points, and Jay Norvell keeps his job. This year, they don't really know what they're doing, and they bench Braden Fowler Nicolosi. And so now the starter is Jackson Brousseau, who sounds like a French explorer from the 1900s. And he is a guy that is just meh. Like, he doesn't have a lot of rushing upside, doesn't have a lot of touchdown upside. This offense has been quite putrid. They put up 24 points against San Diego State. They put up 3 against Washington State in the 2 games that Brousseau started. He's just not great. And I'm not really seeing it. At the end of that game, they did put in Darius Curry. He does appear like he's going to have some rushing upside. They did give him some design runs. He was 5 through the air. I mean, if we were to get news that Darius Curry was starting, he'd be in my player pool. But, man, it's a hard sell for me on Brousseau at that price tag. So, honestly, if you cross out both the quarterbacks from this game, you're looking at only a 4-quarterback player pool on a 3-game slate. And I'm totally cool with that. At the running back position, there is a guy that I do want to play. It's Jaylen Dupree. Since we have seen the switch to Brousseau at quarterback, Jaylen Dupree's kind of been the workhorse. 13 carries against Washington State, 16 carries against Colorado State. Usage in the passing game, I'm here for it. Jaylen Dupree, he's a running back that's going to make my player pool. Lloyd Avance, the RB2, he has been an afterthought since Brousseau has taken over. Only 8 total carries. The wide receiver position, it's a mess for Colorado State. Like, their whole offense has just been so bad. It's just been so bad. Tommy Marr is the number 1 wideout in terms of targets, but he's not great from a DraftKings perspective. They're just not having a lot of success on offense. Now, a guy I do think you might be able to play is Armani Winfield. He is kind of like this gadget play, explosive play guy. And so he did end up scoring a touchdown off a 49-yarder in that game against San Diego State. He's a guy that could get you a random touchdown, and at 3,900, that might be enough. But given that there's a ton of scoring in the other 2 games on this slate, I don't think you need to mess with this. Rocky Beers, which is one of the best names in college football, is the tight end that now that Jackson Warren is out, but even Beers is not doing a whole lot, y'all. So you can avoid that entirely. All right, last game of the night, Rutgers taking on Washington. Washington is 10.5-point favorites with an implied total of 59.5, meaning the implied score is 35-24 in favor of the Huskies. Now, this is a rematch from last year where Washington was looking pretty good, feeling pretty good, heading across the country to Piscataway to play Rutgers, which is what, Washington's so used to from the years in the Pac-12, and they got beat. The cross-country road trips were not favorable to Washington last year, and now they get to return the favor to Rutgers, and I'm sure they remember. So I think that this is going to be like a Washington steamroll because you've got the cross-country road trip factor of it. I also think when you look at what both teams do, this is a good matchup for Washington. Washington is 9th in the nation in rush defense, and Rutgers is certainly going to look to manufacture points via the ground. And Rutgers is 92nd in passing yards allowed, and Washington is a team that they have shown us the ability that they can excel and on the ground. And a big reason why is because of DeMond Williams Jr. I think he's one of the more underrated quarterbacks in all of college football. He showed us his upside when he put up 42 DraftKings points in the Apple Cup against Washington State. I just think he's really good. He's a dual threat. He can do it all. His only bad game so far this season is the Ohio State game. If you take that out, he is averaging like well over 25 DraftKings points a game. So I think he's in a really good spot. He's going to be one of my top quarterback players. I'm really going to be just kind of cycling through Williams and then the 2 quarterbacks from the first game. My favorite 2 are probably going to be Brown and Williams, but Williams is going to be a huge part of my player pool. Now, continuing on with Washington, I kind of did this out of order. My bad. Jonah Coleman is the running back. He's been one of the best running backs in all of college football so far this season, and nobody's really talking about him because he plays for Washington, and their games are on at like midnight, my local time. He's been great. 3 straight games to start the season, over 35 DraftKings points. That's uncanny. He still had 12 against Ohio State, which is pretty good. Over 5 yards a carry against Ohio State. Really good for a running back. Solid usage in the passing game. $7,000 to me. He is the top running back play on the slate, and I don't think it's close. Cash, GPP, whatever. He's the top running back play on the slate. Don't get it twisted. At the wide receiver position, Washington has a super, super condensed offense. And what I mean by that is they really only throw to one guy. Because did you know that their second target leader on the season is Jonah Coleman with 21? It's because their target leader is Denzel Boston. He has 40. It's a very solid dominator in terms of a target share. And he's been pretty good this season. He's been a little feast or famine, but the only real famine was against Ohio State, where he only put up 5.6. Every other game, he's been above 16 DraftKings points. So I'm here for Denzel Boston. I think he's one of the top wide receiver plays on this slate. And really, if you just play this Washington big three, Williams, Coleman, and Boston, and just make the rest of your lineup work, I think that's a solid strategy to win. The third target leader on this team is Desmond Roebuck. He did catch a fairly long touchdown against Maryland for 16 DraftKings points. It's the second time he's eclipsed 16 DraftKings points this season. He's only 4,600. With everybody playing Boston, if you're looking to get some leverage, you could play Roebuck. But I'm going to be honest with you, when you look at the target data, it does not make sense to fade Denzel Boston. His target share is just so great, and everybody else is so far behind him. It doesn't make sense to me. What I would say the situation to play Roebuck would be like to play him as a double stack and go Williams, Boston, Roebuck, and leave out Coleman, and just say, hey, what if Damon Williams gets all his touchdowns through the air, and what if Coleman doesn't vulture any, and they all go to Boston and Roebuck? I think that's a viable option. The other guy I am going to mention is Amari Evans. He's a Penn State transfer they were pretty excited about. Came in at the start of the season hurt. In his debut, caught a 59-yard bomb against Washington State. Really hasn't been heard from ever since, though. But would it shock me if he came in and caught another bomb in this one? Absolutely not. Now, on the Rutgers side, they do have the Greek rifle, Ethan Kaliak-Manis. Holy crap, this guy's still in college. And he's been pretty solid over the course of the season. Like, he's playing his best football he ever has. And this team is looking to throw a little bit more. They've primarily thrown it in games where they've been down, which is what we expect to happen here, right? I think he's totally in play at $7,000, especially in game stacks. At the running back position, Antoine Raymond is turning into the workhorse for this team. He would be considered one of the best running back plays on the slate because of that workhorse status, but the matchup against Washington is really bad, with Washington being one of the best defenses in the country. So it all depends on what you matter or what you value, right? Like, if you value guaranteed touches, he's your guy. If you value matchup and game script, he's not your guy. But he's certainly in play at $6,000. If you play enough, he's probably going to make your player pool anyway. At the wide receiver position, this is what we like to see, y'all. This is exactly what we like to see. Rutgers pretty much only throws to 3 guys, and they have done it to these 3 guys pretty consistently, to the point that all 3 of them have been really solid options all season long. The best one is Ian Strong. Now, he has only played in 4 games, but in those 4 games, he's eclipsed 20 DraftKings points 3 times, and he's been the best receiver for them in those games that he's played. So I'm certainly going to be all over Ian Strong. To me, he's also one of the top wide receiver plays on the slate. Works great as a bring back from the Washington side, and I think you can play these Rutgers receivers without playing Kaliak-Manis, because their passing offense is so condensed between 3 guys that you don't really need the quarterback to cash in on the stack, especially when that quarterback is not a dual threat. KJ Duff is another really solid option at receiver. He's hit 16 DraftKings points in every single game so far this season, which is uncanny. Over 6 catches in every single game so far this season. Isn't quite the big play threat that Strong is, but he's been really good. He's been really good, y'all. And then DT Sheffield, North Texas transfer, has also been pretty solid. Double-digit DraftKings points in 4 out of 5 games. Not quite the same amount of volume as Strong and Duff, but still volume nonetheless. I think he works more as an ownership leverage play over Strong and Duff, as opposed to like a sensical, logical play. Like Strong and Duff are really, really strong plays. No pun intended. Sheffield, not as strong, but like I said, if you're looking to gain some leverage on the Strong and Duff lineups, he's your guy. All right, that's going to do it here for this episode, though, y'all. Hopefully you guys got all the information you need in order to build some winning DraftKings lineups for this Friday night slate. Before you go, make sure you hit that subscribe button. That way you can be with us for the rest of the college football season. And if you're listening on audio, make sure you rate and review. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you hit that like button. I cannot stress enough how much it helps me out when you guys do that and how much I appreciate it. So if you do that before you go, I would really appreciate it. But that's going to do it here for this episode, y'all. Remember, we're going to have our Saturday main slate episode coming up shortly, as well as the live show on Thursday night. But other than that, I'm really looking forward to this Friday slate. This is a good slate of football games. All right, let's go ahead and end it right there. So best of luck to you guys on the Friday night slate. Thank you guys for watching and listening to this point, and I will see you guys next time.